Don't buy a gaming laptop in 2026 without watching this video. Welcome back to PC Builder, I'm Jason. This is our best gaming laptop 2026 buying guide. We're going to cover everything you need to know to buy the best gaming laptop in 2026, from gaming performance, portability to overall features. And we'll list our specific picks for the best gaming laptops in 2026 at every budget level. The number one thing to get right when you're buying the best gaming laptop in 2026, the graphics card, also called the GPU. Now, for the best gaming performance, you want a gaming laptop with a dedicated graphics card, not just integrated graphics. In 2026, NVIDIA GPUs dominate gaming laptops in every category except the budget category. The most available laptop graphics cards in 2026 are the RTX 50 series, but at lower end, you can still occasionally find an RTX 40 series laptop like the RTX 4060. Now, we need three things to ensure that you get the best gaming laptop GPU for your budget: the overall performance, the amount of video RAM on the GPU, called the VRAM, and the GPU's total graphics power, also called the TGP, or maximum graphics power. Don't confuse the desktop and laptop versions of NVIDIA GPUs. Even though they share the same name, they're nothing alike, with the desktop versions obviously being more powerful due to size, power usage, and cooling differences. All right, let's talk about laptop GPU VRAM in 2026. Remember, this is the dedicated VRAM for the graphics card, not the system RAM which the CPU uses, and we'll talk about that later. In 2026, most gaming laptops in the budget, and even the mid-range, they come with 8 GB of VRAM. While this is enough at 1080p and even 1440p for esports titles like Battlefield 6 or CS2, for some graphics-intensive AAA games like Hogwarts Legacy, you will need to turn down settings and textures to medium even at 1080p. 12 GB is considered the minimum for no compromises 1440p gaming, and for 4K gaming, I recommend 16 GB of VRAM, but only the most expensive GPUs like the RTX 5080 and 5090 come with this amount. Jumping over to laptop GPU performance, I have used publicly available data in NotebookCheck's database to create a comparison of the RTX 50, RTX 40, and the RX 7000 series laptop GPUs, which covers most of the gaming laptops on markets right now. Now, these numbers are average FPS at 1080p and 1440p at ultra settings across an average of 30 games, depending on the GPU. Remember, in esports titles like CS2 or Arc Raiders, and using more competitive settings, you will see a ton more FPS, while in some hard-to-run single-player titles like Cyberpunk 2077 or Black Myth Wukong, FPS is going to be lower. The fastest gaming laptop GPUs in 2026 are the RTX 5090 and RTX 5080. The 5090 and 5080 are 4K capable GPUs and deliver impressive FPS at 1440p, insane FPS at 1080p. With 16 GB or more of VRAM, these GPUs can play any resolution, so feel free to get a 1440p or 4K screen if you want. And these are the GPUs I would recommend if you want playable ray tracing at 1440p or 4K. Now, in the mid-range of gaming laptops, we have the RTX 5070 Ti. A full TGP RTX 5070 Ti laptop delivers impressive gaming performance, around 120 FPS average at 1080p, 75 average FPS at 1440p at ultra settings. And with 12 GB of VRAM, it offers a no compromises 1440p gaming experience for rasterization. Though for ray tracing, there might be a couple of titles like Indiana Jones and the Great Circle, where 12 GB of VRAM is not enough at high settings. The good news is that I've seen these laptops under $2,000 at the time of filming. Moving down into the mainstream of gaming laptop GPUs in 2026, you can see our performance is still quite good with the RTX 5070 and RTX 5060. We hit just about 60 average FPS at ultra details at 1440p and just under 100 average FPS at 1080p ultra settings. But we are now into 8 GB VRAM GPUs, so we might have to turn settings down to high or even medium in a couple of titles at 1080p. Though you still will be able to run a lot of titles at 1440p if you get an upgraded screen or have an external monitor. For budget laptop GPUs, we have the RTX 5050 8 GB, along with some remaining RTX 4060 stock and a couple of AMD Radeon last generation models that are still available in the RX 7700S and RX 7600S. The RTX 5050 and RTX 4060 generally perform the same, and because they can utilize DLSS 4 upscaling, they provide superior performance beyond what you see on this native rendering chart. The older 7000 series Radeon GPUs are still on FSR 3.1 upscaling at the time of filming. We do expect at some point AMD should release a version of the very good FSR 4 currently used on RX 9000 series desktop GPUs to these older 7000 series GPUs to close that gap. But right now, I would need a steep discount to consider the Radeon GPUs over the RTX 5050 or 4060. Below these 8 GB GPUs are GPUs with 6 GB or less of VRAM, like the RTX 4050. I strongly recommend spending just a bit more to come up to one of the 8GB VRAM models. Even the Radeon 8GB GPUs would be better. You'll also see power numbers on the benchmarks. That's the total amount of graphics power called TGP. I've listed the full power specs. Just note if you buy a laptop with a lower TGP, like you might find with the ultra thin and light gaming laptops, then you will lose some performance. And remember, despite improved battery life in modern laptops, when you game, you always need to be plugged in because these GPUs will drain your battery in minutes. The CPU is the #2 most important thing when buying the best gaming laptop in 2026, but in reality, it's a distant second to the GPU. For gaming, we just want a CPU that's not going to overly bottleneck our graphics card. Now that happens less when we're maxing out graphics settings and resolution in a game like Elder Scrolls, and more when we turn down the settings and resolution to get a massive amount of FPS in competitive titles like CS2, Fortnite, or League of Legends. The faster the graphics card, the more this matters, but modern CPUs have gotten much faster. Often you're going to be GPU limited. Currently in 2026, AMD and Intel make all the gaming CPUs, but we are expecting NVIDIA to launch its first mobile CPU in 2026. We just don't have any details yet. Choosing the right CPU can seem impossible as both AMD and Intel, they've got these really confusing naming schemes. So what should you get in 2026? Mostly, I would suggest just focus on getting the right GPU. Then only think about the CPU if there's two similar models to choose between at about the same price point. The fastest laptop CPUs for gaming are AMD's X3D ones in the Ryzen 9 9955HX3D and the Ryzen 9 7945HX3D. But you're only going to get these in the most expensive high-end gaming laptops, usually with an RTX 5090. Intel's Ultra 9 and Ultra 7 gaming laptop CPUs in the 200 and upcoming 300 series are excellent gaming CPUs. In particular, the Core Ultra 9 275HX and Core Ultra 9 285HX are extremely powerful. Intel uses the H and HX at the end of the CPU name for its higher performance and higher power mobile gaming CPUs, similar to what AMD does with its Ryzen mobile CPUs. For more budget gaming laptops, you'll see a lot of Ryzen AI CPUs and Ryzen 9000, 7000, even 6000 CPUs. Budget gaming laptops also use Intel's Core 7 and Core 5 CPUs, along with older, but still really good, 13th and 14th generation Intel CPUs. We'll go through some examples in our specific product recommendations. So how much RAM do you need in the best gaming laptop in 2026? Well, we're currently in a global RAM and SSD shortage due to insane AI data center expansion. As a result, we have seen gaming laptop makers downspec from 32GB to 16GB on a number of models rather than raise prices. The RAM shortage is projected to last quite a while, so just know if you want 32GB of RAM in 2026, it's likely going to cost you a little bit more. Now the good news here, 16GB of system RAM is still fine for gaming in 2026, and given the current RAM shortage, many game developers are optimizing newer releases for 16GB systems. But it would absolutely skip any laptop with only 8GB of system RAM. While you can add RAM later, this can be challenging for a number of reasons, so my advice, just get what you need right now. Don't count on a future upgrade. So then how much SSD storage do you need for your gaming laptop in 2026? Well, again, with AI data centers eating all the RAM and SSDs, many gaming laptop makers are also down-speccing storage rather than raising prices. While most higher-end gaming laptops come with 1 to 2 terabytes of SSD storage, the most affected laptops are near the lower mid-range and the budget end, where 512GB SSDs are now more common. That is enough for a gaming laptop, but you will need to be more efficient and uninstall games that you're not playing right now. The good news is most laptops do come with at least one empty M.2 SSD slot, so you can increase the storage in the future. My advice, try and get at least 1 terabyte of storage, but folks at the budget end may end up with 512GB right now, and they can upgrade that at some point in the future. All right, let's talk about the laptop display because you have a lot of options here and this is a critical component. Today, the fastest gaming laptops come with high refresh rate panels, and some of them are now OLED, which has incredible contrast and HDR, but they are more expensive and they do use more power. High refresh rate 4K, 1440p, and 1080p panels typically start out at either 120 or 144 Hz, which you can think of as maximum FPS, and they go up to an overkill of 300 Hz and higher. Remember, you can't always lower your gaming resolution to get more FPS on a higher resolution screen like 4K, but you can't make a lower resolution display like 1080p suddenly output at 4K. And you can always plug in an external monitor as well. Of course, you do need a higher end GPU to get good FPS at 4K and a good mid-range one to do higher FPS at 1440p, so consider both the GPU power and the screen resolution when you're buying a gaming laptop. Screen size is measured diagonally, typically comes in 13, 14, 15, and 16 inches, with the largest gaming laptop screens at 18 inches in the ultra high performance models. Other features to consider include portability, the number and type of ports, as well as aesthetics like RGB. Now for portability, most high performance gaming laptops are in the 5-pound range, and the thinner and lighter gaming laptops typically have lower power versions of the graphics card, which does mean lower FPS performance. For ports, increasingly laptops are relying on fewer USB Type-A square ports, and they're adding fewer but higher speed USB Type-C ports. You can always get a USB hub to connect several lower speed devices to a higher speed port. Most mid-range and higher end gaming laptops include quality mechanical keyboards with backlights or customizable RGB, while many budget gaming laptops include lower quality keyboards with membrane switches. Let's jump into our best gaming laptop 2026 product recommendations, which are all linked down in the video description. Now for each of the recommendations, I list the laptop maker and model, the CPU model, the GPU model, the total system RAM, SSD storage, and the refresh rate of the screen, and I note if it's an OLED screen. Deals come and go all the time, and I am updating this list regularly, so check those links down in the video description for current pricing and availability in your region. Gaming laptops with a fire emoji next to them are a great deal for that category. 2 fire emojis, and it's an insane deal that you should jump on right now. Let's start off at the high end with the best RTX 5090 laptops of 2026. Now, I will say in terms of pricing is significantly better than it was in the middle of 2025 for these laptops. Not quite as good as it was for Black Friday, and we do expect these prices to continue to filter up. RAM and SSD prices are going up, of course, and you're looking to spend here at the time of filming anywhere from, I'd say, $3,300 up to $4,300, possibly even more. I cannot find any good configurations with the X3D CPUs out there right now. I don't like any of them. So I'm going to show you what I think are the highest performance ones and the best value ones right now. Let's start off with Alienware. They've got the Area 51 laptop. This is an 18-inch laptop. This is what you can consider a desktop replacement. It is a beefy laptop, but it is super powerful. It comes with an Intel Core Ultra 9 275HX. That's going to be the dominant CPU you're going to find out there, at least until we get the Panther Lake 300 series CPUs. And it's very, very high performance. Intel did a really good job with that. This comes with 64 gigabytes of DDR5 RAM to it. 64 gigs. That's a huge amount. So for you creators out there who want really the best laptop to do any kind of video editing or anything else, this is going to be a great laptop. And the RTX 5090 with 2 terabytes of NVMe SSD storage to it. And it also comes with a lot of other nice to haves, including the nicer keycaps and everything else to it. Now the screen on this one is a 300 hertz, but it's an LCD panel. It's not OLED, it's a mini LED, which is still really, really good. It's that bridge between LCD and OLED. That's where those mini LEDs come in. Overall, pretty good deal for $3,600. Of course, that Alienware laptop is on a massive deal right now. So let me show you something that looks a little bit more like the rest of the market typically does. This is the Gigabyte Aorus Master 16. So it's 16-inch laptop, not 18-inch, a little bit smaller, but still it's kind of a battle station laptop, a little heavier out there. With an RTX 5090, insane amount of cooling as well. Same CPU, the Ultra 9 275HX, and this is for $36.99, so it's actually $100 more. This has 32 gigs of DDR5 RAM. This is pricing more indicative of what I'm seeing across the market right now with a 2 terabyte NVMe SSD. In this case, however, you pick up a 240 hertz 1440p OLED screen with it, so 2 thumbs up there. Another great gaming laptop by Aorus, and probably more typical of RTX 5090 laptop pricing. Okay, this is a banger of a deal, an absolute banger of a deal for about $3,200. This is well below most RTX 5090 laptop pricing. Remember, check those links out down in the video description. See if this is still there, because if it is, this is the one that I would pick up right now if you're just gaming. 32 gigs of system RAM, just like the other one that we looked at. Core Ultra 9 275HX gaming CPU, so 2 thumbs up there, with the RTX 5090 and a 240 hertz OLED gaming screen. Now, a lot of people absolutely love Legion, and the Legion Pro 7i, this is the Pro version, so you got the RGB keyboard on it, it's got the better keycaps on it. This is a really well-constructed gaming laptop overall. And honestly, out of the 3, this is the one that I would probably pick up if I was just gaming, and I can still find this deal. Let's jump in the best RTX 5080 laptop in 2026. And first thing you're going to notice is a price drop. The pricing on these laptops kind of all over the place at the time of filming. I think some brands are still raising prices. Some brands still are using pricing from last year. anywhere from $2,300 up to $2,900. I expect they're gonna head towards this direction, though I will show you some that are cheaper, at least at the time of filming. Check those links in the video description for the best deals I'm finding right now, by the way. Let's start off with an absolute fan favorite here. This is the ASUS ROG Strix G16 with an RTX 5080. Now, people go absolute bananas for the ASUS ROG Strix G16 gaming laptops. They are relatively high performance. They're full TGP in terms of the GPU itself. They've got a lot of nice to haves like the keycaps on them and just the overall layout and the cooling design to them. This comes with a Core Ultra 9 275HX. Just memorize that CPU in the high end. That's pretty much what they're all coming with, except I will show you a Ryzen CPU in just a second. This has 32 gigs of DDR5 RAM. I think it's 5600 speed, perfectly adequate for this laptop, and a 1 terabyte NVMe SSD. I wish it was 2 terabytes ASUS. This is a little expensive for 2 terabytes, but some people are willing to give that up. And like a lot of these laptops, in the future, you can add an additional NVMe SSD to it as well, but if you take off the bottom of it. Right now, it's coming with an NVIDIA game bundle as well, $28.99. All right, moving over to another configuration here. This one has an AMD Ryzen 9 9950 HX CPU, not the X3D one, but still very, very high performance. Actually slightly better than the Intel Core Ultra 9 275HX, but just slightly. This is the MSI Vector A18. So this is an 18-inch laptop, 240 hertz QHD screen. This is not OLED. The one before it was also 240 hertz, by the way. I think I forgot to mention that. Also 1440p, but not OLED. So both of these are great gaming laptops with 32 gigs of DDR5 RAM and a 1 terabyte NVMe SSD. MSI also does a really, really good job on their Vector laptops here in terms of the keycaps and the overall keyboard layout and the cooling to them. The Raider ones are their highest performing gaming laptops. Typically, you'll find those with a 5090 or like $500 or $600 more expensive. I would probably pick this one up if you're just gaming. And of course, I did find one absolutely insane deal. Check those links in the video description. See if you can still pick this up because this is crazy, crazy pricing. $2,299, basically $2,300 for the Omen Max 16-inch. Now, HP does a really good job with these Omen laptops. Again, really, really good build quality on them. Similar to the other laptops that we just looked at, this one has a Core Ultra 9 275HX CPU with the RTX 5080 and 32 gigabytes of DDR5 RAM, as well as a 1 terabyte NVMe SSD. This one also has a 240 hertz non-OLED screen to it. Really, really great gaming laptop. And again, if you want all the RGB and all the extras, this is such a great deal. I would snap this up if you can still find it. I will say though, probably the pricing is heading a little bit higher. All right, moving over to the best RTX 5070 Ti gaming laptop 2026 recommendations. And what do we notice right off the bat? Price has gone down. We're about the $2,000 price point. Some are a little bit more than that, like $2,100, $2,200, and some are a little bit less than this depending on the configurations, how much storage you're gonna get, how much RAM you're gonna get. I'm still focused on getting 32 gigs of system RAM, but just know at this point, you could go to 16. I just think you're spending enough. I would still get 32. The other thing is the 5070 Ti has 12 gigabytes of VRAM. You are great at 1440p here for the vast majority of titles out there. So this is really where you want to be if you're like, I absolutely have to have 1440p ultra details in every single game. Let's start off with the Lenovo Legion Pro 7i. Right now, $2,000 is a really good deal for this. This has a 240 hertz OLED display. This has a Core Ultra 7 255HX. You notice we've come down a little bit on the gaming CPU. That's okay. We've also come down on the GPU, so we've come down on both of them together. I don't think that's going to cost you any FPS. Again, the CPU, way less important than getting the right GPU here, and this is a full TGP RTX 5070 Ti with all the Lenovo Legion Pro 7i, and you get that full suite of features that you always get with the Legion Pro laptops out there. This comes with 2 terabytes of storage and 32 gigs of DDR5 RAM. At $2,000, this is a great deal. All right, moving over to a slightly different configuration here for about the same price. This is the ASUS ROG Strix G16. Again, 16-inch, so it's the Lenovo Legion that we just looked at, and very similar suite of really nice features and really well-built gaming laptops here. Similarly, but different, 240 hertz non-OLED screen. Now, some people prefer the non-OLED screens. These are the mini LED ones. And with a Ryzen 9 9955HX, not the X3D CPU, obviously, but still a high performance 9955HX, higher performance than the one that we just looked at. with 32 gigs of DDR5 5600. However, it has 1 terabyte NVMe SSD. That's the trade-off here. Slightly faster gaming CPU here. Maybe some people slightly more excited about the ROG Strix version, but you get 1 terabyte less storage. You can, of course, go out and buy an additional 1 terabyte NVMe SSD, and you can install it in the laptop by taking off the bottom. Otherwise, similar feature set and pretty good laptop. Another amazing deal here with an Acer Predator Helios over at Best Buy right now. Check the links in the video description, see if it's on sale still, because this is a crazy price at $1,809. Look at the specs on this thing. It's got the Core Ultra 9 275HX, so that higher performance Intel gaming CPU, 32 gigs of DDR5 RAM, 2 terabyte NVMe SSD, a 240 hertz, not OLED screen, it's a IPS screen, still very, very good. For $1,809, for $200 less. People ask, why is it $200 less than like the ASUS one or Lenovo? A lot of it comes down to two things, a brand recognition and actually build quality. Acer does a good job on their Predator Helios gaming laptops. This is their higher end ones. Their Nitro ones are a little bit more plastic chassis basically, but still the build quality maybe on the ASUS and the Lenovo Legion, slightly higher. Still very good on this one though. To me, this is the real deal out there if you want to save a little bit of money and still get an insane 1440p gaming laptop. Let's jump into the best mid-range gaming laptops in 2026. So the price point here, anything from right around $1,000 up to about $1,500, maybe $1,600. Though I have found some slightly better deals than that for you. Check the links in the video description. In terms of the GPU, we're looking for the RTX 5070, or RTX 5060, possibly you might find a 4070 as well out there. I can find some models, however, not great pricing on them. We are now dealing with 8 gigabytes of VRAM, so we're either gonna have a full HD screen, possibly a 1440p screen instead. And I'm still looking for 32 gigs of system memory on the higher end here, but I'm also going to show you some 16 gig systems as well. And we're definitely looking for at least 1 terabyte NVMe SSD storage. Once we go below $1,000, and I'll show you some of those laptops, we will have to sacrifice some of that SSD storage, but I don't want to do it just yet. All right, starting off at the top here with the ASUS TUF Gaming A16. So this is a full TGP RTX 5070 gaming laptop. 165 hertz full HD screen, really nice on it. 32 gigs of system RAM to it, and 1 terabyte NVMe SSD. You know, obviously the ASUS TUF gaming lineup, a little bit lesser quality than the ASUS ROG Strix gaming lineup, but still very, very good. But you lose a little bit. You still have the RGB keycaps, still has some of the nicer keycaps to it as well, some of the nicer build quality, but you are getting more plastic as well as metal in here. $1,429 though with 32 gigs and a 5070 is an insane deal right now. Now there's not a huge amount of difference between the 5070 and 5060 if you looked at the chart that I showed earlier in the video. So if you still want 32 gigs of system RAM and you don't mind giving up a little bit of FPS performance in order to get it and save a bunch of money, you can still do that with like a deal like this. Now this is pretty insane in terms of the deal. $11.99, maybe you have to pay like another $100 normally. This is for the Acer Nitro 5. This is a 16-inch screen. Now the Acer Nitro lineup, a little bit more plasticky. Obviously, you're giving a little bit away in terms of the overall build quality to it. Still, I think they're absolutely fine. And we're gonna go with the Ryzen 7 260 CPU, similar CPU to the one we just looked at. I think I forgot to call out the CPU. So obviously we also have lesser gaming CPUs here as well, still perfectly adequate for this level of GPU. This has a 180 hertz full HD screen, not really any different to 165 hertz that we just looked at. 32 gigs of DDR5 RAM and a 1 terabyte NVMe SSD. That's really what makes this laptop go. $1,199 for these specs. Again, with the 5060 that's almost as good as the 5070, I like this deal. All right, let me show you two more configurations here, but we are dropping down now to 16 gigabytes of system RAM. And you can see in terms of the rest of the specs, not dissimilar. This has an Intel Core 7 240H. Again, not high performance gaming CPU, but still a gaming CPU with the H in it. 1 terabyte NVMe SSD, 16 gigabytes of DDR5 RAM, and the RTX 5060 8 gigabyte. Now this is an Alienware 16-inch. Now Alienware does a really good job on the overall build quality, on the keycaps on this. This is a 120 hertz 1440p screen. It's WQXGA. That means it's a 16:10 aspect ratio instead of a more typical 16:9 that you get with most widescreen gaming monitors that you buy. But it's essentially 1440p if you're wondering what the resolution is. $1,099, again, just drop the 32 gigs of RAM, You can decide if that's worth it. And here's a deal I literally just found just a second ago. This is the HP Omen 16-inch, very similar specs to what we just looked at. Slightly better gaming CPU in the Core Ultra 7 255H. Not that much better, but slightly better. 16 gigs of RAM, RTX 5060, 1 terabyte NVMe SSD, and a 144 hertz 1440p screen as well. And it's the HP Omen one, which similar to Alienware, they just do a really good job on the build quality. All right, let's jump into the best budget gaming laptop 2026 recommendations here. Look at that pricing. Better than Black Friday. I don't know how they're doing it. I don't expect it to last. What are you looking to spend here? You're looking to spend anywhere from this price, $762, all the way up to about $1,000. So this is the best budget gaming laptops under $1,000 essentially. We are looking for an RTX 5050 or RTX 4060. Both those have 8 gigabytes of VRAM. We want 16 gigabytes of system RAM at the same time. That's critical. Anything less than that, not really much of a gaming laptop. Right now, only finding 5050s out there. The 4060 seems to mostly be gone. Let's jump into this specific one. Acer Nitro 5 16-inch, very similar to the previous Acer Nitros that we looked at in terms of its overall features. A little bit more plasticky build quality, but that's what we're expecting here in the budget category. The gaming CPU is a Ryzen AI 5 240. It's not high performance, but still a gaming CPU, and it's perfectly fine for an RTX 5050 GPU. 16 gigabytes of system RAM, 512 gigabyte NVMe SSD. That's pretty much what I'm finding too. I'm not finding any of these with a 1 terabyte or more. So if you do want more storage, you're going to have to add it in the future, at least for the models I'm seeing on the market right now. But at $762, that is insanely cheap. I expected to spend $900 on this one. Here's another Acer Nitro 5, somewhat similar, but also dissimilar. Let's go over the differences here. Still 165 hertz gaming full HD screen on it, but this is an i5 13420H with an RTX 5050. It's not really going to be that much of a difference. So if you want to pick this one up for $739, again with a 512 gigabyte NVMe SSD and 16 gigabytes of system RAM, check the links in the video description. All right, let's jump into the best cheap gaming laptop 2026 recommendation. And I'm going to try and talk you into buying one of the laptops I've already shown you. Check those links in the video description, because now we're to laptops with 6 gigabytes of VRAM with like the RTX 4050. And honestly, after we get past the 4050, there's not much out there that I really want you to buy. Guess there's possibly some new integrated graphics ones coming. They're kind of almost as powerful as this, but honestly, I would get something like this. If you're expecting a gaming laptop, this is the minimum I would get, but I get that 8 gigabyte GPU if you can, because this is a RTX 4050 with 6 gigabytes on it of VRAM. But it does have 16 gigabytes of system RAM. It's got a 512 gig NVMe SSD. Pretty good gaming CPU with an i5 13420H to it. So for whatever reason you can't scrape together the extra $50 or $100 or whatever the RTX 5050 laptops are going for at the time you're watching this, you could pick up something like this, and check the links down in the video description. I think you'd be fine for most games. However, you are going to have to turn textures down even at 1080p on a number of more single player kind of oriented games. But things like Battlefield 6 or CS2, you'll be just fine. All right, check out all of our best gaming laptop 2026 product recommendations linked down in the video description. I'm updating that list regularly, so check back to see what the best deals are right now. If you got value out of this video, please give a like. It makes a huge difference to the channel. This is a lot of work and I really appreciate it. And I'll catch you on the next one.